Hello guys, and welcome to another episode of biology. And of course, today we are going to be talking about pollination. All right, pollination. Right, it's not a new term to us. In our primary schools, secondary schools, we have come across with this term, and of course, it's going to. In fact, when you get to university, you are still going to come across it for many of you. All right, so. Do not forget that this tutorial, these episodes, of course, they are brought to you by the O3 Schools app, right? And of course, the app has everything you need to succeed in your exam at once. Okay, say you want to pass your exam once and for all, that app is fully kitted, all right, for your success. Okay, so we'll talk about the app in a moment. Let us just see a JAMB pass question from the app. This is a 2021 question, number 24. It says here that if the petals of a flowering plant are removed, which of the following processes is likely to be affected? If the petals, we'll talk about what the petals that are usually bright in color, right, that attract insects for a particular purpose. Right? It says that if the petals of a flowering plant are removed, which of the following processes is likely to be affected? A says transpiration, B says pollination, C says germination, D says photosynthesis. Okay, so we'll come back to this question and many more questions at the end of the class and not before, because at O3 Schools, we pride ourselves in giving you value first. Let us teach you. We believe that once we have taught you and you have known it, you will be able to answer a lot of questions on it. Then there's no question that's JAMB or WAEC or any O-level exam set for you that you cannot answer if you have followed our tutorials. All right? So please ensure you get the application. The app has everything you need to succeed. Has all the past questions for all the subjects in one application. Okay? And what's more, wonderful features like the classroom feature. The features has been shown on the board right now. Okay? So the classroom feature has lecture notes that are structured according to the syllabus for either your JAMB or your WAEC or any exam you want to prepare for. All right. And of course, there's also a study plan in that classroom. What the study plan does is to crash all your subjects that you want to take, as well as the syllabus for all those subjects, and then prepare a timetable for you so that you can easily finish that syllabus. Because we have discovered that the reason why many students fail their JAMB or their work is because they did not read according to their syllabus, one, and then two, they did not finish their syllabus. So what the study plan will do for you is to help you to nurture you, to ensure that you finish your syllabus. Outstandingly also, there's also the question search feature, just like the way we search for this question from the app. We went to the app, went to question search, click on biology, search for pollination, and questions that JAMB has been setting under pollination just came out for us to be answering. So it helps you because whenever you study a particular topic and then you can now search question and answer the questions on that topic, then there's no question that any examiner wants to set for you. Likewise, there's also a mock challenge on the app, okay? So either for the WAEC app or for the JAMB app, okay, the mock challenge is designed to bring out the best in you, okay? In the mock challenge, prizes will be won, but the main reason why we do that challenge is not because of the prizes. It's for you to get acquainted with JAMB past questions. It's for you to get acquainted with JAMB likely exam question. It's for you to put yourself in place of the examiner and see how he's reasoning, how the person setting the question, what he's thinking, what questions he may likely even set. All right. If you can answer the questions on those, participate in those mock challenges, there's no question that they will set for you. All right, because you yourself say you will be the one to be revealing questions to other that I sure say this question they never set time for a while and they must set time. Okay, so it's as simple as that. So please, it builds your confidence. All of these features you are seeing on the board, which I can't talk about because of time, all right, all goes for a very, very, very small activation fee, which is less than the price of rice and chicken in a good restaurant. Please check the app to be very sure of the correct activation fee. All right, anyone on the app is the one that is correct. Okay, anyone you have seen a previous video or you have seen anywhere, okay, the one on the app is the correct one. All right, so please ensure you get the activation and start immediately. You do not have time to be playing. Okay, your syllabus is broad and you need time to cover it fully. So let us go to pollination. All right, so what is pollination? All right, what is pollination? All right, so when we talked about the important parts, okay, of a flower, all right, we saw what the male reproductive organ, we saw the female reproductive organ, all right. So of course, we talked about the anther, we talked about what the stigma, All right. So there are two major types of seed plants. Okay, in the plant kingdom. Okay, we'll talk about the angiosperms, and then we'll talk about the gymnosperms. Okay, so for the angiosperms, all right, all these ones, they what? They produce flower. They produce what? Flower. Okay, why the gymnosperms do not? They do not what? Do not produce what? Flower. Okay, both of them, they are seed-bearing plants, so please take note of that. Both of them, they are seed-bearing plants, but the way they differ is how they are what? How they are formed and how they are protected. Okay, so what makes angiosperm to different from gymnosperm is not that their relationship is what they are both seed-bearing plants. Okay, but their difference is how they are how they are formed and how they are protected. Like the nature of their seeds. Now, these ones, they are seed for the angiosperms, they are enclosed, okay, inside of the fruit. Okay, why the gymnosperms, you can see them. All right, so it's as simple as that. Now, having known this, we're going to now talk about definition for what angiosperms and then for gymnosperms, because what angiosperms produce flower, all right, so they're flowering plants. So for that reason, we can now say that that pollination is the transfer of pollen. Pollination is the transfer of what? Of pollen grains, okay, or pollen, all right? That's in terms of what? The flowering plant to the one that produce flower, the angiosperm, okay? Transfer of pollen from an anther, okay, to the stigma of a flowering plant. So that is pollination. Pollination is the transfer of pollen from the anther to the what? To the stigma of a flowering plant. Okay, transfer of pollen from the anther to the stigma is as simple as that. Okay, is the transfer of pollen from the anther to the stigma. All right. Why for the gymnosperms, okay, that do not produce flower, okay, we can define them as the transfer of what? Of pollen from the male cone to the female cone. All right, so this is what now in terms of what this non-flower producing plant, okay, the gymnosperms. Okay, so for the flower producing ones, transfer of pollen from anther to stigma. Why for what? For the the one that do not produce flower, the gymnosperms, for example, for its transfer of pollen, okay, from the male cone to the to the female cone. All right, so now let us head fast because of time. Before we continue, please, so I've discovered that a lot of you do not support us, right? You do not like our video, you do not subscribe to our channel, you do not drop comments, you do not even share our video to your friends so that they can pass too. Some of you, we heard that you have sworn that you can never share the video because you don't want other people to pass. Okay, please, is very, very bad. Click on the like button as you are watching. Liking the video will make this video to be suggested to other people, all right, other students who need it, and it's beneficial to you. It definitely will be beneficial to them. All right, so please ensure you like the video. Like it now before we continue. Okay, copy the link of the video, share it to your friends. Click on share there, share to your friends on Facebook, from WhatsApp, TikTok. Share it, let them all come and learn and succeed and pass their exam at once. Okay, so now there are two major types. Okay, there are two types of pollination. Okay, two types of pollination. We have one, call it the self-pollination, and then number two, we say it is what? Cross-pollination. Okay, so we have two major types of pollination, which are what? The self-pollination and the cross-pollination. These are the two ways by which pollination happens or occurs. Okay, now what is self-pollination? Self-pollination is the transfer of pollen, okay, from an anther to the stigma of the same flower, or to another flower, but on the same plant. It has to be the same plant. Okay, so that is what self-pollination, the transfer of pollen from an anther to the stigma of the same flower, or the transfer of pollen from an anther to the stigma of another flower, but still on the same plant. Okay, so that is what self-pollination. Okay, and there are two types of self-pollination. Number one, we have autogamy. Number one, we have what we call autogamy, and then the other one, we call another one we call geitonogamy. Okay, geitonogamy. Okay, so the two types of what self-pollination we have are what? Autogamy and what? Geitonogamy. Now, in autogamy, it is the transfer of pollen from an anther to the stigma of the same flower. Simple as ABC. Okay, so for autogamy, you are transferring pollen, okay, from the anther to the stigma of the same flower. But for geitonogamy, it is the transfer of pollen from an anther to the stigma of another flower, but on the same plant. You understand, okay? The same plant, but the transfer of anther to the stigma is on what? Different flowers that are on the same plant. Okay, that is what? Geitonogamy. Okay, so understand that very, very well. Now let us now see what factors that encourage self-pollination. Factors that encourage self-pollination to what? To happen. Okay, and number one among them is what? Is bisexuality. Bisexuality, number one. Bisexuality. Okay, so the presence of both the male and the female organs, okay, can help to what? Encourage. What helps to encourage, okay, self-pollination and discourages what? Cross-pollination. Okay, so the presence of both male and female organs in the same flower. All right, okay, that is what? Bisexuality. Okay, and it helps to what? Discourage what? Cross-pollination, and help to encourage self-pollination. If they were not present, then that means we have to what? Do cross-pollination. Okay, so another factor that encourages it is homogamy. Homogamy. All right, so the maturation of the anther and the stigma of a flower, okay, at the same time, all right, is what we call what? Homogamy. It helps to encourage what? Self-pollination rather than what? Cross. Okay, so the maturation, the anther and the stigma will just mature at the same time. Okay, because of that, it helps to what? Encourages what? Self-pollination. So this one is what? Maturation of what? Of anther and stigma, okay, at the same time. All right, so that is what we call what? Homogamy, the maturation of the anther and the stigma at the same time. Or also, we also have what we call cleistogamy. Number 3, cleistogamy. Okay, and cleistogamy talks about when pollination and fertilization happens in an unopened bud. Okay, when both pollination and fertilization occurs in an unopened bud, okay, so when what? Pollination and fertilization happens on an unopened flower bud, okay, that's called cleistogamy, and this helps to what? Discourage what? Cross-pollination, and encourage rather self-pollination, because the pollination and the fertilization of what is happening, okay, before the bud even opens. Okay, so that helps to also what? Encourage what? Self-pollination. Also have chasmogamy. Number 4, chasmogamy. Okay, chasmogamy. All right, chasmogamy. And chasmogamy is the opening of flowers only after the completion of pollination. Okay, so that is what? Chasmogamy. The what? Opening of flowers only after pollination has completed. Opening of flowers only after pollination is completed. Okay, it means the flower no go open for cross-pollination to occur. It will only open only when what the pollination is complete. So this one completely discourages cross-pollination and helps to rather encourage what's it called, self-pollination. Example of plants you can see this is rice and rice, wheat, okay, or even barley, and so on and so forth. Now, another factor that encourages is what? Position of the anthers. Position of the anthers. Okay, so most times for self-pollination, okay, why it is encouraged, okay, why it happens most times, because what? In the same what flowers, you see what? The anther, you see the anther and what? The stigma, okay, close together with the what? With the stigma surrounding the anthers, with the stigma surrounding it, surrounding the anthers, surrounding the what? The anthers. Okay, so position of the anthers is another factor that help to encourage what? Self-pollination, because what? In the flower you'll be seeing what? Anthers. Okay, you see what? Stigma surrounding what? The anthers. You see stigma because if they are already in close proximity, it can encourage what's it called? Self-pollination. That will not take us to what? To cross-pollination. Cross-pollination. Now, what do you know that cross-pollination is? Okay, and that one is very, very easy. We say that cross-pollination is the transfer of what? Of pollen grains. The transfer of what? Of pollen, cross-pollination now. Okay, cross-pollination, the transfer of pollen from anther, okay, of one flower, okay, to what? To the stigma, okay, of another what? Of another what? Flower on another plant, okay, on another plant. Transfer of anther of one flower to stigma of another flower, okay, on another plant. This stigma is on another plant. The anther is on one plant, okay. The anther is on one plant. The stigma is on another plant, okay. But they must be of the same species, okay. But of the same species, okay. So that's why we say cross-pollination is the transfer of what? Of anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower, okay, of another plant, to the stigma of another flower, okay, of another plant, not that same plant, okay. But these two plants now we're talking about now, they must be of the same what? Species, okay, for cross-pollination to what? To happen properly, okay. So that is what? Definition of what? Of cross-pollination. Transfer of what? Pollen from anther of one flower, to the stigma of another flower, okay, of another plant, but of the same species. Let us now see factors that favor cross-pollination, okay? Factors that favor cross-pollination, and one among them is declining, okay? DICLINY, okay? Factors that favor cross-pollination. One is what? Declining, okay, declining, okay. And what declining is simply what? Unisexual flowers, okay. Declining is what? Unisexual what? Flowers. And what are unisexual flowers? Unisexual flowers are what? Are flowers that contain only one type of what? Of reproductive organ. Okay, those are the flowers that we refer to as unisexual flowers. So they can have what? The male reproductive organ, or they can have what? The female reproductive organ, but they cannot have both. They cannot have what? Both. So because they do not have both, right? Then what? It definitely now what? Encourages what? Cross what? Pollination. That means that what? If you do not cross, okay, self-pollination cannot happen, all right, on the what? On the unisexual flower. You know what? Just like a pistillate, okay, a pistillate or what? A staminate, all right. It's as simple as ABC, okay. So unisexual flowers they cannot what? Carry out what? Self-pollination, because they do not have both the male and female reproductive organ, okay, in the same what? Flower, okay, or in the same plant. It's as simple as ABC. And there are two types. We have what we call the monocy. There are two types, monocy and then also the other one we call dioece. Okay, so how what? There are two types. Declining is of two types, monoece and dioece. Now, when male and female flowers are separate, when the male and female flowers, they are separate, but they are present on the same plant. Okay, male and female flowers, male and female flowers. Okay, they are separate, but they are present on the same plant. That's what we call monoece. Monoece. Okay, the male and female, they are separate. Oh, they are separate, but they are what? Present on the same plant. We call it monoece. Okay, please take note of that. Okay, when the male and the female flowers are separate but present on the same plant, it is called monoece. Now, in some crops, the male and the female flowers are present in the same inflorescence. Okay, male and female flowers, okay, they'll be present in the same inflorescence. Okay, and example of crops that have this kind of behavior are mango. We have mango, okay, like castor too, even banana. Okay, the male and the female flowers are present in the same inflorescence. And by inflorescence, we mean the arrangement of a group of flowers on a stem, okay, or on the branch of a plant. The arrangement of a group of flowers on a what? On the stem or what? The branch of a plant. Okay, that's why I was saying that in some crops, okay, that the what? The male and female flowers are present in the same inflorescence. And those kind of crops are these ones, this mango, banana, and castor. But in some other plants, they are present in what? Different what? Inflorescence. And a perfect example is maize. Okay, maize. They are present in what? In different what? Inflorescence. Okay, the arrangement. Okay, the arrangement of what? Of the what? Of the flowers. All right, on the stem. They are not what? On the same what? Stem or what? Branch. Now, when staminate and pistillate flowers are present, when staminate and then pistillate flowers are present on different plants. When staminate, you know what staminate are, right? And pistillate. I will talk about what terms used in what describing flowers, and we'll talk about staminate, talk about pistillate. So if I have not watched that episode, please go back, right? Because every episode is a sequel to the other. Do not jump anyone. Okay. So the when the staminate and pistillate flowers are present on different what? Plants, different plants, on different plants, on different what? Plants. Okay, we call that one what? We call that one what? Dioece. That's what we call dioece. Okay, so declining basically what? Refers to what? Unisexual what? Flowers. Okay, and it discourages what? Self-pollination, because it has to do with what? It's either you have what? The male, or you have what? The female. You cannot just have both. Okay, so that is that for that. Now, another factor that also encourages cross-pollination is called dichogamy. Okay, let's look at the other factor. Please ensure you have liked this video, ensure you have subscribed. All right, ensure you are sharing our video. Okay, share the link to your friends, to your loved ones. And please, most importantly, download the O3 Schools app now. Okay, it's available for WAEC, available for JAMB. Okay, download the app and what? Start what? Preparing, okay, to give your testimony. Okay, so another factor that discourages cross-pollination, that encourages rather cross-pollination is dichogamy. And what is what? Dichogamy. It is the maturation of the anther and stigma, okay, of the same flower, but at different times. Okay, so that is what dichogamy. Okay, the maturation of the anther and the stigma of the same flower, but at different times. Okay, it's possible that in one flower, the anther is mature, but the stigma is not mature yet. You understand? So it has to now do cross-pollination, okay, with another flower of the same species that has what? A mature stigma. You understand? It must pollinate. Pollination must occur. All right. So this is what it discourages your self-pollination. If both of them are not getting matured at the same time, all right, it will discourage self-pollination and encourage what? cross-pollination. So dichogamy is the maturation of the anther and stigma of the same flower, but at different times. There are two types. We have the one we call protogeny. Okay, then we also have the one we call protandry. Okay, so dichogamy is of two types. We have the protogeny, and then we now have what the protandry. Okay, which one? What happens to what in protogeny? In protogeny, what happens is that the pistil, okay, know the pistil, the female reproductive part, okay, it has what the stigma. Okay, just like I was saying, the stigma matures before the anther. Okay, so in protogeny, the pistil, okay, matures before the anther. Okay, and you can see this kind of example in what? In millet. In millet, okay, that is protogeny. The pistil matures before the anther. While for protandry, the anther matures before the pistil. Okay, and of course, example is in maize. It's in maize. You can see this example in what? In maize. Okay, so all of these what discourages, except what discourages what self-pollination and helps to encourage cross-pollination. Another factor that discourages self-pollination and encourages what cross-pollination is called heterostyle. Heterostyle. Okay, and this happens when the style and the filament are of different lengths. Okay, when the style and filaments are of different lengths. Okay, we call that what heterostyle, and it's of course definitely what helps to discourage what self-pollination, instead encouraging cross-pollination. Also have another one we call hercogamy. Hercogamy, all right. This hercogamy, hercogamy, is hindrance. It's like a barrier to self-pollination. Okay, it makes what self-pollination to be what? Impossible. All right, it's a barrier. And what happens basically is that there's a deposition of what? Of a hyaline membrane on the anther. Okay, so when this hyaline membrane is on the anther, it what prevents it, okay, from what? From releasing what? Pollen. Okay, it discourages it from releasing what? Pollen, thereby what? Encouraging what? Cross-pollination. Please take note of that. Okay, hercogamy. Okay, it's a barrier to what? To self-pollination. Hindrance. Okay, so this hyaline membrane is usually what? On the anther. Okay, and such membrane do not allow dehiscence of what? Of pollen. Does not allow dehiscence of what? Of pollen. Okay, and thereby help to what? Discourage what? Self-pollination. Now let us see one more factor that discourages what? Self-pollination and encourages what is known as what? Cross-pollination, which you are looking at. Okay, and that is what? Self-incompatibility. Okay, self-incompatibility. All right, self-incompatibility. Okay, and what is self-incompatibility? Is the inability of a fertile pollen to fertilize the same flower. Okay, this means that what? It may have what? The anther, it may have what? The stigma, okay? It may have the male and the female reproductive organ, but it is incompatible with it, okay? So the inability of a fertile pollen to fertilize the same flower is what we call self-incompatibility. All right, that means it now needs to what? Go out, all right, to go and find, okay, whatever it's looking for so that it can be what? Pollinated. All right, so that is that about that. So those are the factors that encourages what? Cross-pollination. Now let's quickly go to agents of pollination. Okay, so we are going to look at three major agents of pollination, which are of course wind, you know animals, you know water. Those are the three main agents of pollination. So number one, agents. Agents of pollination. All right. So one, we have wind. Okay. Two, we have what? Water. Three, we have what? Animals. Okay, I shouldn't have put water before animals anyway, but those are the three. Okay, wind, water, and animals. WWA. Okay, wind, water, and animals. So basically, wind and animals, they are the principal agents of pollination. Okay, principal, wind, and animals, especially insects. Okay, they are known as what? The principal agents. Principal agents of pollination. Okay, they are the principal agents of what? Of pollination. Now, flowers that are pollinated by insects, flowers that are pollinated by animals such as what? Insects, okay, are the one we refer to as entomophilous. Okay, we call them what? Entomophilous. Okay, entomophilous. Okay, flowers that are pollinated by insects, by animals like insects, we say they are entomophilous. While flowers that are pollinated by wind, flowers pollinated by wind are the one we call anemophilous. Okay, anemophilous. Okay, entomophilous, anemophilous. Please take note of what? Of those two. Okay, and examples of flowers, okay, that are what? That are pollinated by insects. We include what? Sunflower. You have sunflower. Okay, you have what? Orchids. Okay, all these ones are what? They are flowers that can be pollinated by what? By insects. Okay, while flowers that are easily pollinated by wind include like your pawpaw. Okay, like your what's the other one? Okay, let's say barley too. Okay, barley can go. I think birch too. I think. All right. So these ones that can be pollinated by what? By wind. Okay, but sunflower and orchids and many other examples that you know, right, are what? Pollinated by insects. Now let us quickly see characteristics of wind pollinated with flowers. Okay, characteristics of wind pollinated flowers. Of course, for wind to be able to carry them, it means that what? They are light, abi? They are light. They are light, they are not heavy, okay? They are light. So wind can easily what? Air current can easily carry them. Okay, so let us see some characteristics of wind pollinated flowers. Wind pollinated. Okay, characteristics. Number one, they are usually not brightly colored. Okay, because they are brightly colored, they will attract insects. Okay, to be attractive to insects. All right, so number one, they are usually not brightly colored. All right, and then number two, they are scentless. They are scentless. They no get scent. They are scentless. All right, and possess no nectar. Okay, so now, in fact, as a matter of fact, I think I should quickly tell you this now, that the major reason why insects go to what? To pollinate, okay, is not because of what? Because they like pollination. Say for our family, we don't like to the pollinate. No, the major reason why they go to flower is to go and what? Take that nectar. All right, so they need to take that nectar. All right, that is like food to them. It's food to them, to the insects. So they go there to take food. Okay, while in the process helping also what? Also what? Pollinating. Okay, so it's like a mutual relationship. Okay, they're helping the flowers for during pollination, and then the flowers are what? Are providing food to them. It's mutual. Okay, so now, if the flower is scentless and possesses no nectar, wetin insect wan go find for? Wetin im dey craze? Wetin insect wan go find for there? So insect will not go. E no go. All right. So they are scentless and possess no nectar. That is why what? Wind will be the alternative of ocean. And then also the pollen produced, like I said, are usually what? Light. Are light. tiny, and smooth. Okay, if the pollen produced is light, tiny, and smooth, it means that it can easily be carried by what? By air current. So wind is the only alternative. Okay, then number 4, the styles are usually elongated to keep the stigma in the best position to receive pollen. Yeah. Okay. So the styles are usually elongated to keep the what? The stigma in the best position to what? To receive what? Pollen. All right. So that's another word characteristic. Okay. The style has to be well what positioned. Okay, the styles are usually elongated to keep the stigma in the best position. The stigma has to be in best position to receive what? The pollen, all right, from the anther. And then lastly, large quantity of pollen are usually produced when very large quantity of pollen is what? Is produced. Okay, so these are characteristics of what? Of wind pollinated what? Flowers. Okay, they're usually not brightly colored, they are scentless, possess no nectar, the pollen produced are light, tiny, and smooth. The styles are usually elongated to keep the stigma in the best position to receive the pollen, and large quantity of pollen is produced. So let us quickly see also the characteristics of what? Of insect pollinated flowers. Okay, of course, you know that what? Flowers are very conspicuous. Okay, they are very obvious. You will see them with brightly colored petals, right? Good, fine color, very bright petals. Okay, so for that simple reason, okay, it will attract insects and it will encourage what? Pollination. So I'll talk about number 1. This is I talk about characteristics of what? Of insect pollinated flowers. Now, flowers are conspicuous with what now? Large, brightly colored petals. Okay, so the petals are what? Brightly colored to attract the insects. Come and pollinate me, waiting no good. Okay, then number 2, flowers are often scented. Flowers are often scented. If it's not scented, okay, it will not attract what? The insect. Okay, just like we saw for characteristics of wind just now. The ones that are not scented, see, wind is the only alternative. Okay, so flowers are often what? Scented. Then number 3, anthers produce very little pollen. Okay, with what? No wastage. Okay, with mostly what? Little or no wastage at all. So anthers will produce very little pollen. They don't produce it in large quantity so that wind can say want to carry some. All right, and also flowers have what? Nectaries at the base. Flowers have nectaries at the base. Okay, so this nectaries is the nectar now that the flower that the insects take as food while they help to what? To pollinate. Okay, then number 5, pollen grains. Pollen grains are sticky. Okay, apart from being sticky, they are rough and can stick to the body of the insect. Okay, or what? Any other animal that is coming, all right, to come and what? Take what? That nectar. All right, it's as simple as ABC. So these are the characteristics of insect pollinated flowers. Flowers are very conspicuous because they are what? Brightly colored. They have brightly colored petals. Flowers are often scented. Anthers produce very little pollen with no wastage. Flowers have nectaries at the base. All right, to provide food for what? For the insects. Okay, why the insects help in what? In pollination. Okay, and pollen grains are sticky and rough, so that what? The body of those what? Insects can what? Pick what? The pollens. All right, and then go and deposit it on the stigma of another what? Flower. Okay, so that is what? Where we are going to end today. Let us go to the app. Answer questions. Questions you answer them yourself because they are very easy. So let us see them. Just drop the answer in the comment section. 2016, number 13 says the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma is referred to as what? A says fertilization, B placentation, C pollination, D germination. You know the answer, put it in the comment section. 1999, number 25 says insect visit flowers in order to A say feed on the nectar, B say deposit pollen on the stigma, C say pollinate the flowers, D say transfer pollen from anthers. If you look at the options, almost all of the options inside the one. But why did they really go there? Now the nectar, they want to go and eat. Okay, so that nectar that is present at the base of the flower is what they are going for. But at the end, they also will help. Okay, whether unknowingly or but they assist in what? In pollination. So the major reason why they go there is not to go and pollinate. What they concern them? What concern himself to pollination with your pollination? Eh? You know, they don't. Jesus, I'm not supposed to tell you the answer. All right. So tell me the answer in the comment section. 2021, number 24 says if the petals of a flowering plant is removed, which of the following processes is likely to be affected? Okay, you know that what? Brightly what's colored petals is very, very, very important. Okay, now if that petals is what? Removed, which of the following process is likely to be affected? A say transpiration, B say pollination, C say germination, D say photosynthesis. Okay, so tell me the answer in the comment section. Then 2004, number 26 says, use the diagram below to answer the question that follows. The process of pollination involves the transfer of pollens from where? So you need to find the anther and the stigma. Okay, so and pick the correct answer. Tell me the answer in the comment section. 2023, number 32 says, which of the following statements best describe pollination in plants? They say pollination is the process of transferring pollen from the stigma to the anther of a flower. B say pollination is the process of transferring pollen from the anther to the stigma of a flower. C say pollination is the process of seed formation within a flower. D says pollination is the process of releasing pollen into the air for dispersal. So tell me the correct answer in the comment section. And also download the application, okay? Download the app, start practicing immediately. You have everything you need, okay? Use all the features in the app to your own advantage and pass your exam at once. That's the best you can do. I'll see you in the next class. Thank you for watching.